To understand today's silence, we must first face yesterday's noise. If you ask a modern theologian why God does not appear, he will say that God is spirit, invisible, transcendental. But Paul Wallis, analyzing ancestral texts without the filter of religion, discovered a completely different scenario. Open the book of Genesis chapter 3. The text does not say that Adam and Eve felt a spiritual presence in their hearts. The Hebrew is raw and specific. It says they heard the sound of Yahweh Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day. Stop and think about the physics of that sentence. To make a sound while walking, you need legs, you need weight, you need to displace leaves and branches. The first humans didn't believe in God. They didn't need faith. They lived with the Elohim. It was a physical, tangible, and daily relationship. When we look at the Sumerian tablets, the picture becomes even clearer. The cuneiform texts do not treat the Anunnaki as mystical entities living in another dimension. They treat the gods as local governors with physical addresses. Enki had his base in Eridu. Enlil managed the command center in Nippur. Utu commanded the spaceport in Sipar. At that time, there was no prime directive. There was no quarantine. The texts describe banquets where humans and gods ate together. They describe Abraham welcoming 3 men into his tent, washing their feet, physical feet dirty with dust, and serving meat and milk for them to eat. They were not ghosts. They were biological. They were present. They were the visible kings of the earth. But then, the policy changed. Paul Wallis points out that the biblical narrative shows a gradual and deliberate withdrawal. In Genesis, they walk in the garden beside us. In Exodus, centuries later, they no longer walk among the people. They retreat to the tops of mountains, surrounded by clouds of smoke and warnings of danger. Direct contact becomes restricted, and finally, in the later prophetic books, they ascend to the heavens. The glory, the physical vehicle, departs, and humanity is left alone, looking up, creating rituals to try to make them return. The crucial question Paul Wallis asks is, why? They didn't die. They didn't disappear. What happened was a change in diplomatic status. We ceased to be citizens of their empire and became something different, something that needed to be isolated. The silence of the sky today is not proof of their non-existence. It is proof that the restraining order is still in effect. Block 2. If they were here and left, who made that decision? Was it random abandonment or a policy change? Paul Wallis takes us to one of the most revealing and ignored texts in the Bible, Psalm 82. Most people scroll right past it without realizing what they are reading, but the text begins with a scene impossible for traditional monotheism. Verse 1 clearly says, God stands in the assembly of the gods, he judges among the gods. Stop for a second. What assembly? What other gods? If God is unique, omnipotent, and alone in the universe, who is he meeting with? Who is he arguing with? Linguistic analysis reveals we are looking at a military and corporate hierarchy, not a spiritual one. The text describes a summit meeting, an audit. The supreme boss, called in the original text Elyon, the Most High, summons his subordinates, the Elohim, the territorial governors, to give an account. And the meeting does not go well. In verse 2, the commander reprimands his officers. He says, "How long will ye judge unjustly?" He is criticizing their administration on earth. They failed to maintain order. They let the project get out of control. This aligns perfectly with the Sumerian tablets of the Epic of Atrahasis. There we also see this celestial council, the Anunnaki, meeting to vote on the fate of humanity. We see Enlil complaining that humans were noisy and rebellious while Enki tried to defend our existence. What Paul Wallis suggests is fascinating. The withdrawal of the gods was the result of this internal politics. There was an executive decision in the council. Direct management of Earth by the Elohim was deemed a failure or a danger. Perhaps we were considered an unstable experiment. Perhaps the wars between the gods themselves, which Greek and Hindu mythology describe so well, were destroying the planet, and High Command ordered a strategic retreat. Either way, the message is clear. We were not abandoned by a loving father who wanted us to grow up. We were left behind by a colonial administration that changed its guidelines. Direct management ended. The observation phase began. And that is exactly what leads us to the current situation. A dangerous species left alone on an isolated island in space. Block 3. To understand how this non-interference policy works in practice, we don't need to look at the stars. We just need to look at the Indian Ocean. There is a place called North Sentinel Island. A tribe lives there that has been isolated from the rest of the world for 60,000 years. They don't know electricity, the internet, or modern medicine. And the government of India has established a strict law: no one can approach the island. Why? Is it because we hate them? No, it is exactly the opposite. We know that direct contact would destroy their culture and that our immune system would carry diseases that would kill them in days. But there is also a second reason: they are extremely violent. Any boat that approaches is met with a shower of arrows and spears. Now flip the perspective. To an interstellar civilization capable of bending space-time, we are the tribe of Sentinel Island. We look at the sky and ask for contact. But what would we really do if a gigantic ship landed tomorrow? Human history proves that our default reaction to the unknown is fear and attack. Paul Wallis argues that Earth is under a sort of cosmic prime directive, an environmental protection law. From their point of view, we are a developing, unstable, and armed species. We kill each other over colored pieces of paper and imaginary borders. We poison our own atmosphere. If they came down now and gave us their technology, it would be like giving a hand grenade to a chimpanzee. We wouldn't have the moral maturity to use it. Their silence is not arrogance, it is a security measure. They watch us from afar, just as we watch the Sentinelese with drones and satellites, ensuring the tribe survives but never stepping on the beach. We live in a galactic zoo without visible bars, and the sign at the entrance of the solar system clearly says, "Do not feed the animals." Block 4. But the issue goes beyond simple isolation. There is a security problem. Many people look at the sky and ask, if they are so advanced, why don't they come down and help us? Why don't they give us the technology to clean the oceans, cure all diseases, or generate infinite free energy? Paul Wallis's answer is harsh, but necessary. Because we would turn any gift into a weapon. Think about the history of our evolution. When we discovered how to split the atom, a source of energy that could light up entire cities for free, what was the first thing we did with it? We created the most destructive bomb in history and dropped it on civilians. We are a species that weaponizes everything it touches. If an advanced civilization handed us anti-gravity or zero-point energy technology today, we wouldn't use it to travel to Mars or end hunger. World powers would use it to create undetectable missiles and dominate each other before dinner. Paul Wallis uses a brutal analogy. You don't give a loaded machine gun to a baby. It doesn't matter how much the baby cries. It doesn't matter how much he wants to play with that shiny object. A responsible parent knows that handing over that tool would only result in tragedy. From a cosmic perspective, we are technologically adolescents, but morally infants. We have smartphones and satellites, but we still operate with the reptilian brain of territorial conquest and tribalism. Technological quarantine is not pettiness. It is a containment measure. As long as humanity cannot prove that it can live without trying to exterminate the neighbor over oil, religion, or land, we will not have access to the big toys. Their silence is the only thing stopping us from destroying our own planet with technologies we do not yet understand. Block 5 and conclusion. But every rule has an exception. If the main directive is isolation, is there a moment when they are forced to intervene? Recent history suggests yes. If you look at UFO sighting charts, you will see they exploded exponentially starting in 1945. That date is not a coincidence. It was the year we detonated the first atomic bomb and destroyed 2 cities in Japan. Paul Wallis and various military researchers suggest that by splitting the atom, we lit a red warning light on the Celestial Council's control panel. We ceased to be just violent monkeys with rocks and became a threat to the integrity of the planet itself and possibly to the fabric of space around us. There are declassified U.S. Air Force documents, such as the famous incident at Malmstrom Base in 1967, where a red disc-shaped object hovered over nuclear silos and deactivated 10 intercontinental ballistic missiles in a matter of seconds. The missiles simply turned off. That was not an attack. It was a message. It was someone taking the matches out of the child's hand. The logic seems to be cold and pragmatic. They don't care if we kill ourselves with swords, arrows, or gunpowder. That is part of our natural and brutal evolution. But they do not allow us to destroy the laboratory. They protect the real estate, the earth, and not necessarily the tenants. Intervention only happens when we endanger the future viability of the planet or when our stupidity threatens to leak out of the atmosphere. As long as our violence is domestic, the silence continues. But the moment we touch the doomsday button, they appear to remind us who is really in charge here. Where does all this leave us? Paul Wallis's view of our past and present completely changes the way we look at the sky. The silence we feel is not proof that we are alone. It is, in fact, the greatest proof that we are being watched. We were not abandoned by a negligent God, nor forgotten by our ancestral creators. We are simply in a testing period. Humanity is waiting for a savior. We are waiting for ships to land on the White House lawn, for angels to descend with trumpets, or for a galactic federation to give us the cure for all evils. But the hard reality is that this won't happen, not while we act like children. Open contact, that reunion etched in our genetic memory that we call paradise or the golden age, will not come from the top down. It needs to be earned from the bottom up. They are waiting for the day we stop being a tribe divided by borders, religions, and resource wars. Waiting for the day we look at the universe not as a territory to conquer, but as a community to integrate. They won't come down to save us from ourselves. They will only come down when we finally decide to level up. Until then, the quarantine continues. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel to support us, and become a member to get exclusive access to audio versions of our material. It helps us a lot. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss any content. Until next time.